It's 2025, and the most important financial agreement in modern history just ended. No headlines, no breaking news alerts, no emergency press conferences, just silence. And that silence should terrify you. Because for 50 years, there was a secret deal that made your dollars valuable, your gas cheap, and America powerful. A deal so fundamental to your standard of living that you've never even thought about it. You just assumed dollars would always be dollars, that America would always be America, that things would always work the way they've always worked. But that deal just expired. And the people who understand what that means have already moved their money. They're buying gold. They're buying farmland. They're buying anything except the dollars sitting in your bank account. Meanwhile, you're still getting paid in a currency that's losing its power by the day. And nobody's warning you. Not your financial advisor. Not the news. Not your politicians. Why? Because if you understood what's actually happening right now, you'd panic. You'd pull your money out. You'd demand answers. And the system that depends on your ignorance would collapse faster. So let me tell you what they're not telling you. Because your savings, your paycheck, and your entire financial future depend on understanding what just changed. Let's go back to 1974. Richard Nixon just took America off the gold standard. That means the dollar isn't backed by anything anymore. It's just paper, a promise. And if it's just a promise, why would anyone accept it? That's the question that kept Henry Kissinger up at night. So he made a deal. A brilliant, ruthless, world-changing deal. He flew to Saudi Arabia and made them an offer. You price all your oil in dollars. Only dollars, no other currency. And in exchange, we'll protect you militarily. We'll sell you weapons. We'll make sure nobody touches you, Saudi Arabia agreed. And through OPEC, nearly every oil-producing nation on Earth followed. This created something unprecedented in human history. Artificial demand for US dollars. Think about it. If you're Japan and you need oil, you first need dollars. If you're Germany and you're fueling your economy, you need dollars first. If you're China building factories, you need dollars before you can buy energy. This meant America could print unlimited money and never face consequences. We could run massive deficits. We could rack up trillions in debt. We could import everything and export inflation. Because the world needed our currency just to survive, we didn't have to make anything. We didn't have to export products. We just had to control the one thing everyone needed to buy: dollars to purchase oil. That's the petrodollar system. And for 50 years, it made America the richest, most powerful nation on Earth. But that system just died. And most Americans have no idea. June 9, 2024, Saudi Arabia quietly announces they won't renew the petrodollar agreement. It wasn't front-page news. CNN didn't cover it. Most people scrolled right past it. But in central banks around the world, alarms started going off, because Saudi Arabia didn't just walk away. They joined BRICS, the economic alliance specifically designed to challenge dollar dominance. They started accepting Chinese yuan for oil. They're discussing rupees with India. They're talking about pricing oil in a basket of currencies. Every single move is designed to reduce dependence on the US dollar. And they're not alone. China has dumped over $300 billion in US Treasury bonds since 2021. Russia eliminated nearly all dollar reserves and bought gold instead. India is settling trade in rupees. Brazil and Argentina are bypassing dollars entirely. Even France, supposedly our ally, is reducing dollar exposure. The numbers don't lie. In 2000, 73% of global reserves were held in US dollars. By 2020, it dropped to 59%. Today, under 55%. That might not sound dramatic until you understand what it means. The world is slowly, methodically, deliberately moving away from the dollar. And once that momentum starts, it doesn't stop. It accelerates. Here's where this gets personal. Because this isn't just about geopolitics or central banks or international trade deals. This is about whether you can afford groceries next year. The dollar's value isn't based on how hard Americans work or how productive our economy is. It's based on artificial demand created by the petrodollar system. For 50 years, the world absorbed our inflation. We printed money, and they held it in reserves or bought our bonds. They needed dollars, so they kept accepting them no matter how many we printed. But now they're selling. They're diversifying. They're getting out. And when those trillions of dollars that have been sitting in foreign reserves come flooding back home, that's not just inflation. That's your purchasing power evaporating in real time. Every dollar you've saved becomes worth less. The price of imports, gas, electronics, clothing, food, medicine, everything made outside America, which is almost everything, becomes more expensive. Your paycheck stays the same, but it buys half as much. And here's the nightmare. Your government can't stop it. The Federal Reserve talks about controlling inflation, but their tools don't work when the problem is loss of reserve currency status. They can raise interest rates, but that crashes the economy and makes our $36 trillion debt unsustainable. They can print more money, but that accelerates inflation and drives more countries away. There's no good option. The math doesn't work. And the people in power know it. That's why they're not talking about it. Want to know how serious this is? Watch what the richest, most informed people on Earth are doing. Because they don't listen to press releases. They watch the actual money flows. Bill Gates now owns more farmland than anyone in America. Not because he wants to be a farmer. Because land produces food, and food has value no matter what happens to paper currency. Ray Dalio, one of the world's most successful hedge fund managers, has been screaming about dollar collapse for years. He's moved significant portions of his funds into gold and foreign currencies. Warren Buffett, historically a dollar bull, has been diversifying Berkshire Hathaway into foreign stocks and commodities. Central banks are buying gold at record levels. In 2023 alone, they purchased over 1,000 tons of gold. Russia, China, India, Turkey, Poland all loading up on physical gold and dumping dollars. Why? Because they know what's coming. Even corporations are hedging. Tesla, MicroStrategy, and other major companies have moved cash reserves into Bitcoin and alternatives, not because they love crypto, because they don't trust the dollar long term. These aren't conspiracy theorists. These are the most successful financial actors on Earth, and they're voting with their wallets. Meanwhile, your financial advisor probably still tells you to keep everything in dollar-denominated bonds and index funds. Either they don't know what's happening, or they're not allowed to tell you. Either way, you're the one holding the bag. Here's what nobody wants to admit. This has happened before. Every single global reserve currency eventually fails. The Spanish silver dollar dominated in the 1600s. Collapsed. The Dutch guilder ruled the 1700s. Collapsed. The British pound sterling controlled the 1800s and early 1900s. Collapsed. After World War II, Britain was so broke they couldn't maintain their empire. The pound went from global dominance to regional currency in 2 decades. The dollar's been the reserve since 1944. That's 80 years, actually longer than most reserve currencies last. And every single one ended the same way. Overextension. Endless wars. Massive debt. Currency printing. Loss of confidence. Collapse. We're watching the exact same pattern play out right now. The wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, and beyond. Military bases in 150 countries. Trillion-dollar defense budgets while bridges collapse at home. $36 trillion in debt that can never be repaid. Money printing to cover deficits. Every symptom is there. The diagnosis is clear. But here's what makes 2025 different. There's no clear successor. When the pound collapsed, the dollar replaced it smoothly. This time, the euro is worse than the dollar. China's yuan is controlled by an authoritarian government nobody trusts. Bitcoin's too volatile. Gold can't be used for daily transactions. We're heading into a multipolar currency system. And that means chaos. Exchange rates swing wildly. Trade becomes expensive. Trust breaks down. Global commerce fragments. This isn't a smooth transition. It's a breakdown. Let me walk you through the cascade. Because these dominoes are already falling. First, oil-producing nations accept other currencies. Already happening. China pays Saudi Arabia in yuan. India uses rupees. Second, countries holding massive dollar reserves start selling. Russia already did this. China's doing it slowly. When they sell, treasury bond prices fall and interest rates spike. Third, rising interest rates make US government debt unsustainable. We're paying nearly $1 trillion per year just in interest. If rates keep rising, we'll have to print money to pay the debt. Fourth, printing money to pay debt accelerates inflation. Prices rise, wages can't keep up. The spiral begins. Fifth, inflation destroys confidence in the currency. People flee to alternatives. Foreign currencies. Gold. Crypto. The exodus accelerates. And here's the nightmare scenario. A currency crisis triggers a debt crisis, which triggers a banking crisis, which triggers a political crisis. When people can't afford food, they riot. When governments can't pay salaries, they collapse. When banks can't honor withdrawals, they close. Look at the signs. Food prices up 25% since 2020. Energy costs spiking. Housing unaffordable. Wages falling behind. Credit card debt at record highs. These aren't separate issues. They're symptoms of the same disease, currency collapse. Here's what every government does when their currency fails. They lock down. They'll impose capital controls, making it illegal to move money overseas. They'll force retirement accounts to buy treasury bonds. They'll potentially restrict gold ownership like they did in 1933. They might create a digital dollar. They can track and control, every transaction monitored. Every purchase approved or denied. This isn't paranoia. It's what every failing government does, because letting people escape means admitting failure. And governments never admit failure until it's too late. By the time they acknowledge the problem, your money will already be trapped. Your 401k will already be decimated. Your savings will already be worthless. First, kill the normalcy bias. The belief that things will go back to normal or that someone will fix this is poison. This isn't fixable. The math doesn't work. The debt can't be repaid. Accept that. Second, diversify out of pure dollar assets. I'm not giving financial advice, but historically, people survive currency collapse by holding things with intrinsic value, real estate, commodities, precious metals, productive assets like businesses or farmland, foreign currency exposure. Third, reduce debt and increase flexibility. When currency collapses, fixed debt can get inflated away, but only if you can survive the chaos first. The safest position is minimal debt and maximum flexibility. Fourth, build relationships and community. When systems fail, humans survive by cooperating. Your neighbors, your family, your local network matter more than any investment. Fifth, educate yourself. Everything I'm telling you is verifiable. The petrodollar history, the reserve currency patterns, the current de-dollarization, it's all public information. Most people just aren't looking. The petrodollar system gave America privileges no nation in history ever had. We got to print money and have the world accept it as valuable. We got to run deficits without consequences. We maintained an empire on borrowed money and borrowed time. But every empire ends. Every currency fails. The patterns are always the same. We're not facing some unprecedented crisis. We're facing the same crisis that destroyed Rome, Spain, and Britain. The script is written. We're just watching it play out in real time. The petrodollar is dead. The dollar's global dominance is dying with it. And most Americans will be blindsided because nobody in power wants to admit what's happening. But you know now. You've seen the pattern. You understand what's coming. The question isn't whether this happens. It's whether you prepare before it's too late. History shows that currency collapse is one of the most predictable disasters in economics. Overextension, debt, money printing, loss of confidence, collapse. The actors change, but the sequence is identical. Paper money dies. Hard assets survive. And the answers aren't hiding in some uncertain future. They're written in the past, in every empire that made the same mistakes we're making now. The dollar's reign is ending. Not because of bad luck, but because of mathematical inevitability and historical patterns that have repeated for thousands of years. The question was never if, it was always when. And the answer is now. The foundation just cracked. Everything built on it is coming down. Are you ready? Because ready or not, here it comes. If this opened your eyes, subscribe. The patterns aren't hiding in the future, they're written in history. And I'll show you exactly where to look.